It
was in September 2002, my lord.
in September 2002.
Thank you. Where did it take place?
It was here at the lab.
Laboratory.
Let's try to be specific. Where here at the lab?
It was here in South Africa at the lab, at the forensic science lab.
Forensic science lab.
Yeah, in Pretoria.
That's correct.
Thank you. Now, is it also true or correct that the word CMS stands for consecutive meshing striations? CMS stands for consecutive meshing striations.
Can you please repeat that?
Consecutive matching striations.
Consecutive matching striations.
That's correct. Consecutive matching striations.
Yes. So you familiar with this concept?
That's correct, my lord.
Thank you. Now, these are some of the concepts which you got when you attended that Bruce Moran and George Murdoch lecture in 2002, not so? Amongst others.
Amongst others, yes, my lord.
Thank you. Now, you tested, you fired some test bullets, and on those that you fired as test bullets, you went on to work to compare bullet number 5 and 9 with the same bullet, not so?
Number 5 and number 9.
My lord, I compared all the bullets that I fired with the exhibit bullet.
So you're saying you compared all the, how many tests did you fire again, test bullets?
8 test bullets.
Thank you. And you compared those 8 test bullets with the sin bullets?
That's correct.
Then of those 8 bullets, you then proceeded. Then why did you mention in your affidavit that you only work on bullet number 5 and 9 and not mention all of them?
Number 5 and number 9
My lord, in my affidavit, there's no way I've mentioned only bullet number 5 and bullet number 9. I've compared all bullets with the exhibit bullet. The only thing that I did when preparing a court chart, I used bullet number 5 and bullet number 9.
Okay.
Bullet number 7, bullet number 5 and number 9 affidavit. Take his fellows in town. What do I go? My son is a bullet number 5 and number 9.
Why did you specifically prefer bullet number 5 and number 9?
yini kokwenza ukuthi ukhethe number 5 and number 9?
Well, those are the bullets that I could see letter marking that can be produced on my code chart. That's why I use those two.
Ilezi inhlamvu ke engibone kuzona kunezimpawu ezibonakalayo engakwazi ukuthi ngizifake ku chart yami engayiletha la enkantolo.
So are you then telling this court that the other bullets which you fired that you also examined could not give you better marking, although they were fired from the same firearm?
Ngizomchaza ukuthi ke nanoma ke sithule isibhamu esisodwa lezi ezinye inhlamvu ezingenazo izimpawu ezibonakala kahle.
Well, there were markings on all the bullets, but I prefer to use bullet number 5 and bullet number 9 because of their markings.
Zonke inhlamvu zasinazo izimpawu kodwa ke mina ngakhetha ukuthi ngizosebenzisa number 5 no number 9 izona engaziqoka.
Did you at any stage say try to compare or compared the bullet amongst themselves? Did you compare bullet number 5 to bullet number 3? Test bullet number 5 to test bullet number 3. Did you do that?
Number 3 number 5.
I compared all the bullets with the exhibit. Comparing the test will not help with anything because I know those are the known match. Those are the tests that I have fired in the firearm.
Zonke bengiqhathanisa nenhlamvu eyathola esigamekweni ngoba bengekuzizela ukuthi ngiqhathanise zona zodwa ngoba zonke bezizokuthetha.
But now the bullet that you ultimately used to prepare the code chart, which is bullet number 5 and bullet number 9, actually gave you better marks, not so?
That's correct.
Wagcina kusebenzisa bullet number 5 and number 9 ukuthi wenze ama-chart akwathi yebo.
Thank you. Now you request Lieutenant Colonel Surero to override your work, not so?
Manje ke wasecela uKolonel Surero ukuthi naye abukeze umsebenzi wakho.
It was only for the mic work verification, it's confirmation of my mic work. If he agrees with me on my findings.
Ngangifuna ukuqinisekisa umsebenzi engangwenzile ukuthi ngithola ukuthi yena uyavumelana yini naloko nomphumela engawuthola la.
I'm sorry, maybe I used a wrong term, override. I actually should have used term to confirm. Confirmation, I'm sorry about that. But nonetheless, you understood what I was saying. And then in the confirmation of your test, Lieutenant Colonel Surero then uses bullet number 4 and bullet number 8, not so?
Emsebenzini wakhe ke uSurero yena wasebenzisa number 4 no number 8 akunjani?
But I gave him all the tests and he used all the tests. And the marks that he could find, or maybe that he could maybe identify properly, it was bullet number 8 and bullet number 4 and bullet number 8.
Ngamnika zonke inhlamvu ukuthi azihlole kodwa ke na wakhetha ukuthi uzosebenzisa number 4 no number 8.
That is exactly what I'm saying. In his affidavit, he says in his section 212 affidavit, he says, I use test bullet number 4 and bullet number 8 to confirm the tests that were done by Lieutenant Colonel Mangena. That is exactly what he says.
Bakushoyo ku-affidavit yakhe engaphansi section 212 uthi yena wasebenzisa le nhlamvu number 4 no number 8 uqinisekisa umphumela owawuthola wena.
That's correct, my lord.
Yebo kunjani?
Thank you. You also wouldn't tell the court whether, you don't know whether did it make any endeavors to compare that bullet number 8 and bullet number 4 to those test bullets that you came and prepared on the court chart here at court, not so? That is bullet number 5 and 9.
Ushuthi yona wazi ukuthi wasebenzisa bullet number 4 no number 8 wasiqhathanisa nalezi wena wasebenzisa bullet number 5 no number 9.
Malot, I don't know if he compared those bullets first, but he compared all the tests probably with the exhibit that I gave him. Because the purpose was to compare the bullet, to confirm the microscopic work that I did, that the bullet, exhibit bullet, is positive with the test bullet.
Nangasi-ke noma wazama yini ukuqhathanisa lezi nhlamvu engangizigqokile mina ukuthi ngizisebenzise nalezi yena ezigqokile, kodwa engazi ukuthi ngamnika zonke inhlamvu ukuthi azihlole ukuthi ziyahambelana yini nale nhlamvu le yatholakala endaweni yesigameko.
Now, would you agree with me that you said you fired the FMJs and you also fired the FMS bullets because the FMJ did not give you it did not, I'm sorry. Just a second, my lord. I think I did not switch my phone off. Now, you said you fired the FMJs, that's so the full metal jackets, not so, amongst others.
Wathona kwezinye izinhlamvu wazidubula lezi eziwuhlobo le-FMJ, akunjalo?
That's correct, my lord.
Yebo kunjalo.
And do you know what type of a bullet was bullet number 8?
Manje-ke inhlamvu-ke leyo number 8 uyazi yini ukuthi kwakuyiluphi uhlobo?
Bullet number 8 was FMG.
Bullet number 8 lolu hlobo le-FMJ.
And that is the bullet that Sirero worked on, not so?
That's correct, my lord.
Yile nhlamvu le uSirero senzela kuyona what's it here?
Now, how do you explain this rationale? That you had to fire the CMJs in order to get better markings, and yet Mr. Sirero uses the FMJ to compare your tests. I mean, to affirm your tests, to confirm your tests.
Manje uchaza kanjani-ke lokho ukuthi wena uthi wadubela ama-CMJ ukuthi uzothola impawu ezibonakala ngcono, and then uSirero yena wasenzisa FMJ ukuthi athole wasenzisa FMJ ukuthi athole indlela ukuthi aqinisekise umsebenzi wawenza.
My lord, the first two FMJ bullets that I have compared with this were the tests which were fired by Warrant Officer Rudolph. I could not get the match on this, but could see the similarities. That's why I've decided to shoot more tests using the correct ammunition. And within those correct ammunition, there's CMJs. I also used the two FMJs I compared. Not that the two FMJs that I fired didn't have marks, they had marks.
Mhlawumbe engaqala ngasenzisa ilezi ezazi engaqala ngasihlole lezi esidutshulwe Warrant Officer Rudolph. Emva kwalokho-ke ngase ngisenzisa-ke ezinye iy'nhlamvu kudubula ezinye iy'nhlamvu ngoba ngangifuna ukuthi ngithole phela ukuthi kukhona yini iy'mpawu ezikwaziyo ukubonakala, ezinye-ke zazo ey'mbili zayizilolu hlobo lwe-FMJ.
No, I don't understand, but can you also understand what I'm saying? Maybe let me put it in a different way. You say you had to fire the CMJ because they were made of a softer material. Therefore, the transfer of the marks into the test bullet was easier compared to the FMJ, not so?
Manje uthi wena wadubula labo CMJ lezi nhlamvu ezohlobo lwe-CMJ ngoba uthi zona wawukwazi ukuthi iy'mpawu zibonakale kangcono kuzona ngoba-ke kusho ukuthi-ke impawu lezi eziphuma esibhamini zidlulisekele kangcono kulolu hlobo lwe-CMJ, akunjalo?
My lord, not that there were no marks on those FMJs, or the marks will differ. Marks will not differ. It's just that when you shoot the test on this firearm, because of the condition of the firearm, as I said, it does not transfer those marks properly to all the exhibits. In some of the tests, you can see the marks that you cannot see on the others. Even on those FMJs, there were marks that are visible on the FMJs, but on those, the CMJs, you could not see them clearly. So not necessarily that I couldn't see anything on the FM. I could see the marks also on the FMJs.
Yebo lapha ku FMJ bengikwazi ukuzibona lezi impawu kodwa bezingacacile kangcono yebo nje bekufanele kudutshule lesi eze CMJ ngoba bese ngishilo ukuthi isibhamu lesi sasesigugile and impawu zazingadluliseki kalula zidlulisekela ke einhlamvini.
Now you are also confirming that the firearm was old and the barrel was abused. It could not transfer proper marks onto certain types of bullet. That is what you say.
Uthi-ke uyavumelana nami ukuthi isibhamu sasesisidala futhi nomphopho waso-ke wawusugugile ungasakwazi ukudlulisela iy'mpawu kalula enhlamvini.
My lord, it could not transfer marks clearly that it could, but it could transfer marks, and it's possible to connect some of the marks that were transferred to the bullet by the firearm.
Ngisho ukuthi iy'mpawu lezi zazidlulisekela-ke enhlamvini zazingacacile kahle kodwa ukusho lo ukuthi kwakungenalutho oluwuphawu lesi sibhamu esasilidlulisela enhlamvini.
Thank you. Now back to my initial question, that which I surmise you did not understand. Serero, you saying bullet number 8, which was used by Serero to confirm your work, was a FMJ, not so?
Inhlamvu leyo number 8 esetshenziswa uSirero kwakuwuhlobo lwe-FMJ anginjalo?
That's correct.
Yebo unjani?
Yourself, the bullets that you used to prepare the court's shot, those two bullets, that's now bullet number 5 and 9, were CMJs, not so?
So, inhlamvu owasebenzisa-ke ukuthi wenze amashot ayokwaletha la enkantolo inhlamvu number 5 number 9. So bile zinhlamvu kwakwama-CMJ akunjalo?
My lord, I'll repeat again.
Can you please answer the asked?
I'm asking the question.
Not
I've answered
so.
this question and I'm asking.
CMJ, I'm not saying repeat anything. I'm simply asking you, the bullets, the test bullets which you yourself have used in order to prepare the court's charts with CMJs, not so?
Ngithike mina inhlamvu wasebenzisa ukuthi ulungise ama-chart okwaletha la enkantolo zaza uhlobo lwe-CMJ akunjalo?
That's correct, my lord. There's
Thank
two
you.
test bullets that I have preferred to use for the court chart were the two CMJs.
Yebo kunjalo ukuthi lezi inhlamvu ezimbili engangigqoke ukuthi ngizisebenzise ukwenza ama-charge kwakungama-CMJ.
Thank you. Now, Serero comes and confirm your tests that are based on the FMJs. I mean your tests which are based on CMJs when he has used the FMJs. Do you understand that?
Now uyafika usebenzisa ama-FMJ ukuthi aqinisekise umsebenzi wakho wena owawusebenzise kuwona ama-CMJ.
Do you understand it?
My lord, the FMJs, I could make them positive, but I did not use them for court chart.
Yebo bengingakwazi ukuthi ngisebenzise lezo inhlamvu zama-CMJ kodwa ngizange ngizisebenzise ukwenza ama-shot asenkantolo.
But then why? Because rule of say also used FMJs. Why didn't you continue to use these FMJs?
Manje yini ngingazange ngiqhubeke ngisebenzisa wona ama-FMJ ngoba nangu no-rule of say wasebenzisa ama-FMJ.
My lord, I've mentioned this. The FMJs which were shot by rule of did not have proper marks. Okay. That's why I had to shoot my own test. And within my test, I've also fired the FMJs, of which on my FMJs, I could see the markings.
Bese ngishilo ukuthi la ma-FMJ ayedutshule urule of say ayengenazo impawu ezicace kahle yikho ngithe mina angidubule ezami iy'nhlamvu and futhi kulezi engazidubula ngichazele ukuthi nama-FMJ ayekhona.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now, you said you understand the concept of CMS. consecutive matchings try are not so.
That's correct, madam.
Uteyazwisisa lento ye-CMS consecutive matching strata. What here?
Now, in a test exhibit, in what region of the test bullet will we find these striations?
Manje ke kule nhlamvu le yasesigamekweni le migqa le ukhuluma ngayo uyitholakala
In what? Can you rephrase the question?
In what region of the test bullet will we find, or would the expert normally find striations?
manje le migqa le kuthiwa ama-striation atholakala phi kule nhlamvu le yasesigamekweni
On the grooves.
bathi ke la kukhona imisele khona.
Thank you. You're also familiar with the concept of same relative area or position, not so?
Can you please repeat that?
You're also familiar with the concept of same relative position within the context of ballistic analysis, not so? Same relative position. I'm asking him if he is familiar with that concept as it is used within the context of ballistic
Kukhona ke
analysis.
lento ebizwa ngokuthi same relative position kusho ukuthi ke indawo efanayo etholakala endaweni eyodwa.
That's correct.
Wathi yebo kunjani?
Thank you. Now, in a practical application of this concept, maybe before I get there, is this also one of the concepts that you got when you attended the seminar or the training by Bruce Moran and John Maddock?
Wathi okunye kwakufunda ngesikhathi ufundiswa uBruce Moran noJohn Maddock.
That's correct.
Wathi yebo kunjani?
Thank you. Now, how would you define the concept of same relative position as it relates to ballistic analysis?
Manje ke ukuhlaziyeni ke inhlamvu lena ke lento ekuthiwa same relative position yona ungayichaza kanjani?
My lord, when you're speaking of the same relative position, I mean, on both items, it must be on the same position.
Yes.
If you are looking at 1 o'clock on your exhibit, it must be 1 o'clock on your test. If you are rotating your exhibit or your exhibit and test, you rotate them simultaneously to look on the same relative positions. You're not moving one and then you move the other one, or you don't move the other. Both items must be on the same position and you move them simultaneously. Then you are on the same relative position.
Makhona same relative position kusho ukuthi ke imigqa le etholakalayo ke la enhlamvini ifanele itholakale endaweni efanayo kuzo zombili inhlamvu. Kusho ukuthi nanoma ke uziguqula ke lezi inhlamvu lefanele ziguqule ngesikhathi esisodwa ukuze kutholakala ukuthi endaweni ethize kuyatholakala yini impawu ezifanayo.
Thank you. Now let us use just one exhibit. Just one exhibit. In relation to just one exhibit, test bullet, let's say it's a test bullet or it's a scene bullet, the bullet that is picked up from the scene. In relation to that exhibit, what is the meaning of this concept, same relative position in relation to that one exhibit? Not as when you're comparing two exhibits.
Manje ke uma sikhuluma ke ngenhlamvu eyodwa noma yiphi noma into etholwe esigamekweni noma ileyo uthesta ngayo masikhuluma nge-same relative position usukhuluma ngayo.
My lord, you cannot speak of same relative position in one item. It cannot be. If it's same relative positions, when you are comparing two items, it must be the same position from this one and this one. So if you are talking of one exhibit, what do you mean by the same relative position? You are relating it to which exhibit or to which part of it? Because we are talking about one item.
Angeke kwazi uthi izinto ziyafana kuwukuthi ukhuluma ngento eyodwa.
Say, is it not so that when you are using two exhibits, the purpose why you're doing that is is to compare if there are similarities between the same exhibits, not so.
Uma uthole imibukiso emibili angithi ke kufanele ukuthi uqhathanise ukuthi ubone ukuthi khona ukufanana yini akunjalo.
Now you are comparing two different items, the similarities on those two different items. Then you must be on the same relative position on both three, so that you can see if they match.
Manje uma uqhathanisa izinto ezimbili ufanele uzame ukubuka endaweni engathi cishe kube indawo efanayo ukuze ubone ukuthi ziyafana yini lezi.
Thank you. I don't dispute that, not even with a cent. Now let us start here. You receive a scene bullet, not so.
Asiqale lana asithi uthole inhlamvu etholakala etholekale esigamekweni.
That's correct.
Yebo njalo.
Now under your microscope, you put that scene bullet under your microscope, and then you determine that there are indeed some striations in that bullet, not so, on the grooves, as you say, not so.
Uthatha le nhlamvu uyifaka ngaphansi kwe-microscope ukuthi ubone ukuthi kukhona yini la ekudwebeke khona la kunemisele khona enhlamvini leyo akunjalo.
That's correct.
Yebo kunjalo.
And let us assume at this point you haven't received a tool which that scene exhibit could have been or a gun or a firearm that scene exhibit could have been fired from. It's only the scene bullet. You not received any firearm, not so.
Manje uma ungakayitholi ke isibhamu engacatshengela ukuthi ngabe kuyisona esadubula le nhlamvu usaphethe sikhuluma ukuthi manje usaphethe inhlamvu eyodwa nje etholakele endaweni yesigameko.
I hear that, man.
Yeah, no, this process is very necessary. We're trying to assist the court. We're simplifying it with a view to assist the court. Now, you put that scene exhibit under microscope and you're able to identify certain marks.
But manje uthatha ke le nhlamvu oyithole endaweni yesigameko sufake ngaphansi kwe-microscope manje usuyabona ukuthi kukhona izimpawu ezikhona.
Do you follow?
Yes, I follow that, my lord.
Ngiyalandela.
And because of that identification, is it not so that would you then mark those, would you then continue to mark those marks which you have identified under microscope, not so, from the scene bullet?
Manje ke ukuthi ke wena uzohamba ulokubhala ukuthi iziphi naziphi izimpawu lezo uzitholile kuleyo nhlamvu muyibuka ngaphansi kwe-microscope akunjalo.
I don't understand to mark them. To mark them, you can't mark them not knowing that what type of marks it can be unique markings, but are you comparing them with anything?
Uma ngazwisisa ukuthi kuzobe ngizimakelani ngoba nje ngenzeka ukuthi impawu nje ezikhona ezingafani nezinye inhlamvu. Kodwa uma sikhathanisa ngibona ukuthi uzobe uzimakelani.
Say you're not yet at the position where you need to compare. We're not yet there. You still now having one exhibit. You just want to identify that exhibit if it has got marks. Do you understand?
Nasikafike esikhathini sokukhathanisa sithi usathole inhlamvu eyodwa usafuna ukubona nje kuphela ukuthi inazo yini izimpawu ezikhona lapha kuyona.
Do you understand?
Yes.
I understand there will be grooves on those and then there will be marks on the grooves.
Yes.
Yebo kuzoba khona imisele khona lapha kuleyo nhlamvu futhi ke nezimpawu ezithile zizobe zikhona nazo khona lapha kuleyo nhlamvu.
Now some days later an investigating officer then brings a firearm and requests you to do a matching
manje emva kwaloko ke sekufika ke iphoyisa liphethe isibhamu bese ke licela ukuthi awuzameke nje uqhathanisa naleso sibhamu.
Now, is it not so that from that firearm then you will proceed to fire test bullets, not so?
Kusho ukuthi ke ngaleso sikhathi ke ukusithatha lesi sibhamu kuhamba yodubula ke inhlamvu ozohlola ngaso akunjalo?
That's correct, my lord.
Yebo kunjalo.
Then from those test bullets, you will then go and retrieve the same bullet that you had worked on before and compare that same bullet with the test bullets, not so. Now, this is comparison.
Emva kwaloko ahambe yothatha le ntamvu le ephuma esigamekweni bese uzoyiqhathanisa nalezi inhlamvu ozidubulile kanjalo.
That's correct, my lord.
Yebo kunjalo.
Thank you. Now back to my question. Those marks, because you've just said that there are marks, of course, that you could find on the same bullets, which would be normally on the grooves. Now, that groove on which the marks are appearing, would that not be a same relative area?
Ngishekele mseleke la uzothola khona imark. Ngasithi uyihlolile wathola ukuthi kukhona umsele la uthola kunemark khona. Uzobe ingekho yini endaweni ecishe ifane?
If I compare the two bullets, then I identify the groove that matches.
Yes.
Then that groove will be my first groove. Then when I start looking at the markings, the individual markings on that one, I'll start matching them. Then I'll go to the next groove, of which will be the same relative position on both items, move it to the next groove. You can look into that when you see the whole groove. If you can see, you don't want to see the whole groove, you can just magnify it, make the marks a little bit bigger. You can count that. No, if you see the whole groove, you can count all your striations on those things.
Mangibheka inhlamvu ngiyengibona ukuthi ukhona umsele engizothi mangibhekile ngibona ukuthi lo ngiyawubona kahle lo msele ukuthi unjani bese ngiyabheka ukuthi ukhona yini impawu ezitholakala kulowo msele and then ke uma sengiqhathanisa ke nale enye ke inhlamvu ngizofuna ke umsele ofana nalo umsele lo ngale bese ngiyabona ukuthi cha yiyo le ndawo engathi indawo ezifana nayo mase ngiqhubekela phambili ngizofuna indawo ezinjalo ezicishe ezifanayo.
Thank you, sir. Now, your understanding of the concept same relative area would mean you can find certain marks on a particular groove, and then you can go to, and then you twist the exhibit, and then you find certain marks there as well. That it means now on two different groups you find marks which are similar. That is now your understanding of the concept same relative area.
Manje usho ukuthi ke uma usuke wathola imarketize mhlawumbe uphawu thize komunye ke wemsele letholakala lapha kuleya nhlamvu.
That's correct.
Uqula ke leyo nhlamvu uthole ukuthi ke uthola enye omunye umsele onolunye uphawu usho ukuthi enye ke indawo engathiwa i same relative position usho ukuthi indawo efana nayo le.
That's correct, my lord.
Yebo unjalo.
So you go to a third groove, you go to a fourth groove, you find certain markings there on both exhibits, that the test bullets and your sim bullets, and you find certain markings which are similar. According to you, that will also constitute same relative area. That is the first groove, the second groove, the third groove, the fourth groove. According to you, that would still constitute same relative area.
manje musudlula kumselo wesibili wesithathu wesine wesihlanu bese uthola ukuthi kukhona izimpawu ezikhona lapho endaweni efanayo yiloko ozobiza ngokuthi same relative area.
That's correct, my lord.
That's correct. Izinjani?
You attended this training offered by Bruce Moran and John Murdoch in 2002. Is that what you got from them?
Manje ufunde lapha lesifundo sethula uBruce Moran noJohn Murdoch ngo-2002. Ikona lokho wakufunde lapha?
That's correct, my lord.
Yebo kunjani?
Sir, with due respect and the greatest respect that I have for the experts, I'm going to put it to you that you had it all wrong.
Hayi ngokuhlonipha okukhulu ke ngifisa ukutshela ukuthi cha ingathi wenza iphutha.
That is going to be demonstrated when and when the matter progresses, that you had it all wrong.
Hayi kuzocaca uma silokuqhubeka ngalolu daba ukuthi cha wenze iphutha.
Thank you. Let's proceed. CMS, consecutive machine striations.
Sorry to interrupt, Counsel. It has been put to the witness that to be demonstrated that he's got it all wrong without really laying the basis, my lord. Can we just inquire what is the basis for that proposition?
Yes, Mr. Mnisi.
I do not understand the basis of the objection, Mother. I'm requested to lay the basis, but I also don't understand the basis of the objection. May the state please explain himself. What does he mean? That what is the basis of that objection?
No, but logically, that's how I understand the question. Logically, this expert witness must be told what the correct position is because he has got it all wrong. He must be told. Mr. Baloyi, is that what you...
Yes, indeed, that is the basis of the objection.
If you don't want to tell him or her, or you don't think it's necessary, you're at liberty not to.
I've just indicated, my lord, that as the trial progresses, that is going to be demonstrated that he got it all wrong.
All right.
Exactly. So I don't understand the basis of the objection.
All right.
Thank you. CMS, the consecutive machine striator. What do you understand with the term consecutive?
Manje ke masikhuluma ngaleli gama leli setshenziswa lapha ku-CMS consecutive matching striator. Leli gama ke elithi consecutive yini ke oluzwisisayo ukuthi
Let me put it this way. It could be a very broad term. I'm referring to it when it is used within a ballistic context.
Leli gama leli ngifuna ukuthi ngizwisise kahle ukuthi la uma sikhuluma ngalokuhlola izinhlamvu ku-ballistic lisetshenziswa kanjani leli term elithi consecutive.
My lord, I'll simplify it as continuous matching striations only.
Hayi ngalichaza ngokuthi consecutive matching striator.
Continuous matching strike.
Asho uthi chaza ukuthi ke ngathi imigqa engathi iyafanana enokulandelana.
Continuous matching strike. It's consecutive. Continuous. Thank you. Now, we are going to go into the chart that we have prepared in order to simplify this whole process of continuous, as you say, and
You can say
consecutive,
continuous
as
or
I'm saying.
sequence of matching strides.
Excuse me?
Continuous or sequence of matching strides.
Sequence of machine strike.
hayi singakhuluma ke ngemigqa elandelanayo efana nayo.
Thank you. Now, I think if you go to the chart that we have prepared, because if you speak in continuous, the sequence of matching strike, to a person who does not understand this concept, they will just be wandering in the wilderness. Let us simplify it by specifically referring to the chart that we have prepared. Thank you. Now, I'm going to request that we go to Exhibit 13E6. If you can be brief for us, please. The reason why I prepared Exhibit 13E6 is because you have already marked them. Those are the ones that were made available to us yesterday morning. If you can be enlarged, please. Thank you. Now, is it correct that this is similar to Exhibit 13E1?
That's correct.
Thank you. Just a second. Thank you. Now I'm not so sure whether as we do this exercise you're going to move from the witness box and just get nearer to the screen there, or what methodology we're going to use. Maybe the state can assist in that regard. Remember, we're here at the invitation of the state. State is administrative. So I'm just wondering if the state will be in a position to assist. Because I'm avoiding a situation where we say, you see there, you see there, you see there, you see there, there, below, there. No, it won't work. Science is the art of precision and accuracy. We are going to be very accurate. I'm not so sure, my lord, whether this witness is going to get to the board today as he's trying to demonstrate the concept that I'm asking him about or what.
Yeah, ask him. He will go there if he has to answer by going there. And then he'll come back into the witness stand and tell us what he just saw.
Thank you, my lord. Now, we are on Exhibit 13E6. We're busy trying to analyze this concept of consecutiveness as it relates to ballistic expertise or processes. Now, there are arrows there that are marked one that is on both. We assume that the exhibit that is on the left hand side is the seal exhibit, not so.
Sithatha ngokuthi ke la kubonakala khona kulesi sithombe kunemcibisholo e1 futhi ke satha ngokuthi ke isithombe singapha ngakwesokunxele isithombe ke senhlamvu eyatholaka endaweni isigameka kunjalo.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yebo kunjalo.
And what is depicted on the left or on the right is a test bullet that was fired by you at the forensic science laboratory. So.
Athi-ke bonakala ngakwasokudla isithombe inhlamvu wayedubula uze uzohlola ngayo i-test bullet.
Thank you. Now, there are arrows there that are marked 1.
Koncisho lapha ebhale ukuthi number 1.
Do you see them?
Yabona le mcisho.
Yes, I can see it, madam.
Thank you, sir. Now, you can proceed. Actually, this is a process that the state needed to do, but unfortunately, they didn't. So, I'm now the incumbent that is taking you through the process. Now, what are they pointing at? Those others that are marked at number 1 on both sides.
And the mcisho ebhale ukuthi 1 ikhomba.
Well, they are pointing at the striations that starts from the exhibit bullet, continues on your test bullets.
Kombisa ke umugqayelo obonakala lapha kule nhlamvu ethola endaweni yesigameko ukuthi yaqhubeka itholakale futhi kule nhlamvu le eyisetshenziswa ukuthi kutestwe ngayo.
Thank you. And as you look on the screen, that will tell you that those are the highest points when you start from the bottom upward. Not so those ones, the arrows, they are at the highest point there. Not so.
Which ones? The ones at the top.
The ones which are marked 1, they are a little bit taller than the others. A little bit taller than the one marked 2, 3. 2 and 3, yes.
Le mcisho lo emakwe ukuthi 1 ingenhlana kwale mcisho lo ebhale ukuthi number 2 and number 3.
Or let me put it this way, they are at an elevated angle compared to those that are marked 2 and 3, not so.
Akule angle engathi phezudlwana umuqhathanisa nale emakwe ukuthi number le mcisho lo emakwe ukuthi number 2 and number 3.
Not so.
They are at the elevated
level. It means they are above those that are marked 2 and 3.
meaning 1.
Yes, 1 on the screen. On the screen. Yes. Is that not so?
That's so.
Thank you.
Athi yebo kunjalo ukuthi mcisho le ngenhlana kwale but number 2 and number 3.
Now, when you have identified this 1, we can assume that the line that is running from the scene bullet to the test bullet, they align at the center of the 2 bullets. In other words, that could be regarded as a match, not so.
Ngiyabonakala ukuthi khombisa imigqa efananayo kulezi inhlamvu zombili.
They align, my lord, yes.
Yes, that's a match.
Athi yebo hayi ziyafana.
When you're only speaking about 1, you cannot say it's a match when you see only 1.
No, in other words, okay.
Ngeke ukwazi ukuthi hayi ziyafanana ukuthi ubone nje owodwa.
In this regard, when I say a match, I don't mean, therefore, the conclusion is that the scene bullet matches the bullet that was, matches the test bullet. I'm saying there's a synergy there. The line goes through. It runs from the scene bullet to the test bullet. So there's a similarity there.
Adikhona ukufanana lapho ngoba lo mugqa lona usuka kule nhlamvu ethola esigamekweni idlulele kule nhlamvu le esetshenziswa ukutesta.
That's correct, man. As I said, it starts on the exhibit bullet, continues to the test bullet.
Yes.
Yebo ziyafanana ngoba iqala lapha enhlamvini yombukiso iyofika lapha kule kwahlolwa ngayo.
Now, what type of a line is that? Is it a striation, or what type of a line is it?
Manje hlobo lunikele umugqa lo lapho uyiloko ubizwa ukuthi striation.
Yes, my lord, it's a striation line.
Thank you.
Yebo ilo line ubizwa ukuthi striation.
Is it the class characteristics?
Come
Is
again?
Is it the class characteristic? Is that a subclass characteristics, or is it an individual characteristics?
Umbuzo ke lana uthi kukhona ke izigaba ezikhona ke lapha khona lo okubizwa ukuthi i-class characteristic no subclass characteristic manje ubuzayo ukuthi ke lo mugqa lona uyiluphi uhlobo.
Malo, that cannot be a class characteristic and cannot be a subclass characteristic.
Cha uthi ka ukwazi ukuba i-class characteristic noma i-subclass characteristic.
Awukahle Lieutenant Colonel. I'm asking you, is that a sub? Is it a class or is it an individual? Then you answer by saying, no, that can't be a sub. That can't be a class. But the question is very simple. What is it?
It is not a class characteristic, Malone. And it's not a subclass characteristic.
Then what it is?
Wathi akuyona i-class characteristic, akuyona i-subclass characteristic. Manje umbuzo ukuthi uyini kuma kungekona lokho okubili.
Malone, it can be an individual markings, but you cannot just use it as an individual markings.
Wathi angenzeka ukuthi uphawu nje oluzimele kodwa angeke ukusebenzise kanjalo.
Just a second. Yes, thank you. But in terms of the structure of comparison, is it also a counted line? Are we counting it?
That's correct, yes.
Thank you.
Wathi yabala yini kulo ukusebenzisela athi yebo.
Thank you. Now let's go to 2. To the arrows that are marked 2 on both sides.
Asiyemsho ke ebhalwe ukuthi number 2.
Do you see them?
Yes, I see them.
Wathi yabona yebo ngiyabona.
Thank you. Now, we can also assume that like those like that line, that striation that goes that is marked number 1. We can number 1 on both sides. We can also assume that this is the same scenario. That is the line that is from the scene exhibit marked 2 goes through to the test bullet on your right hand side, which is marked 3. In other words, it goes through. There are similarities. I don't want to use the word match again.
Masibheka ke sothi kuyafana nakuloko esibonile kulomcibisho lokuqala ukuthi umcibisho lo wesithathu lolu phawu lelo liyadlulela kule nhlamvu le okuhlolwe ngayo kulusuka lapha kule nhlamvu le eyathola endaweni yesigameko kanjalo.
That's correct, man.
Thank you.
Yebo kunjalo.
Maybe just before we proceed, is this now a 2-dimension or a 3-dimensional process?
Using a microscope.
What we're seeing?
Using a microscope.
Yes.
It's a 3-dimension.
3-dimensional. Thank you.
Masibheka lapha. I-2-dimension noma i-3-dimension yini kusho ukuthi ke ibonakala uma sithi 2-dimension kusho ukuthi khombisa ukuya phezulu nokuya ohlangothini kanti ke uma sikhuluma ngo-3-dimension ikhuluma ngokuthi kuya phezulu ohlangothini nokuthi ijule.
Thank you. Hi, Mr. Njoba, that was excellent. Thank you. I mean, your understanding of what I've just said, or what a 3-dimension is, that was excellent. Thank you, sir. Now, that will be, according to you, that will be a second count, not so.
ngokusho kwakho kusho ukuthi kuzobe kubalwe uwesibili la akunjani?
That's correct.
Yebo kunjani?
And according to you, that will be a consecutive count from 1. In other words, you've counted from arrow number 1 and then you're now in arrow number 2. That is 1, 2. It's a consecutive count according to you, not so.
Futhi ke indlela kubalwa ngayo ke lapho kuzobe kubalwa ngendlela elandelanayo ngoba ngithi uqalwe kuleyo kuqala ku number 1 kwase kuyiwa kule yesibili.
That's correct.
Athi kunjani?
Thank you. Now, let us look between point number 1, arrow number 1 and arrow number 2 on the exhibit on the exhibit bullet. Between the space that is between the first striation and the second striation in the same bullet. What is it that you are able to identify there?
Yini okwazi ibona masiphathanisa
Oh, what is identifiable there?
Yini ke ekwazi ukuthi uma uyibheka ibonakala?
The space between the two is equal.
Yes.
Theka ukuthi ke ibanga kusuka kulo mugqa oqala ufika kulo mugqa wesibili liyalingana.
The spacing, you're right, and what else?
Okunye
What else meaning?
What else do you see? Meaning, what else do you see there, Lieutenant Colonel?
yena okunye okubonayo lapha.
Are we referring to the other marks on the...
I'm specifically speaking about the side of the test bullets between arrow number 1 and arrow number 2.
That's why I said the space is equal. So I don't know any other thing that you are referring to.
So you don't see anything.
I don't know what you're talking about or referring to when you say anything.
Angazi ukuthi umuthi yini okunye okubonayo ngizothi uchaza ukuthi yini.
Are there no striations that you're able to pick up between arrow number 1 and arrow number 2 on the scene bullet?
Ayikho yini imigqa okwazi ukuyibona kusuka kulo mcibisholo oqala uyofika kulo mcibisholo wesibili ongaba uphawu olubonakalayo?
On exhibit bullet, yes, there are other striations that ends up there on the dividing line.
Yebo khona ke eminye imigqa evele iyophelela nje kulo mugqa lo wehlukanisayo.
Where do you see them?
Where do I see them?
Remember, we're talking about a space that is between arrow number 1 and arrow number 2. We have not yet moved further. Now you're saying yes, there are other striations that go up to the point where the two bullets are meeting. Is that what you're saying?
On the same space between 1 and 2.
Yes.
Yes, I can see them there.
Athi yebo ngiyabona ukuthi khona impawu ezikhona lapha kwa number 1 and number 2.
Maybe just for practical purposes, could you, with the leave of court, of course, can you just go and point them out at the screen there?
Athi ngayini esikhombisa zona escreenini?
Yeah, I've got a ruler here. I've got a ruler. Can you please pass it over?
Are we referring to these striations here? The ones that are here.
I'm asking you, what do you see? You must tell us. You have said you're saying striation. I'm not referring to anything. You must tell us what do you see there. I'm not referring to anything. I've only asked you, what is it that you see between the space marked arrow number 1 and number 2? Then you said you see striations. Then you went there and pointed them out. Those striations.
Yes, they are striations.
Thank you.
Athi yebo khona imigqa.
How many?
Mingaki?
There are 4 striations there.
Akhona imigqa emine.
Thank you. Those 4 striations which you've just mentioned, do they go through to the test bullet? Which is on the right? Are they also visible on the test bullet which is on the right?
Yabonakala indemigqa ku le bullet le test bullet engapha ngakwesokudla.
My lord, they continue to the test bullets, but on that part of the test bullet, they are not visible. I just want to point out to the court. If you look at the test bullets here, they are not there, but if you continue looking, there they are this side. On this part of the bullet, they are not there. So if you look at your bullet, as I said, it's a soft bullet, it's a soft lead bullet. If it bends like this part will not have your marks. But this part will have your marks.
Okay,
so that bullet, because it's a soft bullet, the possibility of it bending a little bit so that it cannot pick up all the markings are very high there.
Okay.
Ngoba ke le nhlamvu yezongo umthofu kwenza ukuthi kube khona la igobe khona bese kwenza ukuthi ke la lesimpawu lezi singadluleli endaweni eyodwa kodwa ke uma siqhubekela phambili ziyabonakala lesimpawu kuye lenhlamvu le.
Thank you, sir. Now you had an opportunity the whole weekend to go and identify areas of similarities between the, there it goes again. Oh, it's back again. Between the similarity, similarities between the test bullet, and when I say similarities, please understand me contextually. Between the test bullet, which is on the right, and the exhibit bullet, which is on the left. To identify all those marks which are similar, whether they extend or they do not extend.
Usolila isikhathi esihle ngempela sonto ukuthi uhambe uyobheka futhi ukhombe zonke indawo la kubonakala khona indawo ezifanayo imigqa efanayo kule test bullet nale nhlamvu etholakele endaweni esigameko.
Not so.
That was not the assignment. The assignment was to go and depict the marks that are visible on E1, and that is precisely the exercise that the witness has done. Not all the striations, but the striations that he has identified on Exhibit E1.
Yes, it is a court, my lord. I think the state again had it all wrong. Very all wrong. Exhibit X13 EC1. He has got no markings, which is the reason why on Friday this expert was requested to go and identify and mark those areas which is able to identify on the exhibit bullet and the test bullet. That was the assignment. Nobody said to him that, look, if you are unable to find it in the middle and you find it at the end, you should not mark it. But exactly, that is coming, madam. Let's look at point number 3, error number 3. Error number 3. Now, is that not what you're suggesting, that the bullet would not have been able to pick up those marks as per demonstration of it bending in the middle? You know, actually taking is it a convex or a concave shape? I think it's a convex shape or a concave shape, yes, such that as it goes through the barrel, it is unable to pick up mark in the middle of its body, but only on its edges, on its ends, not so. That is exactly what you have done on point number 3. And nobody said you should go and do it in point number 3. Now back to my question. If you are saying that those striations that we have already pointed out as striations that are between point number 1 and point number 2 on the scene bullet are also on the test bullet, irrespective of where they are in the test bullet. If you're able to pick them up, why did you not do the same exercise as you did on point number 3?
Uma ukuthi ke khona ke impawu zibonakalayo lapha enhlamvini yembukiso ezikhona lapha kule nhlamvu ye-test yini ke ungazange usikhombise lapha ku number 3 njengoba wenzile kule mgcilisho lokuqala nosibili.
Malak, I've pointed the sufficient marks to show the similarities between both exhibits and the test. I didn't point out all the marks. It's not going to be possible to point all the marks there. There's a lot of marks there.
Angizange ngifuna ukukhomba zonke impawu kodwa bengikhombisa nje impawu ezingasisiza ukuthi sibone ukuthi kukhona ukufanana.
But sir, exactly, that was the assignment. Go and identify all the marks that are found on the test bullet, on the test bullet and as well as the scene bullet. Nobody said limit yourself. That is the exercise that you're requested to go and do. Then you decide to come up with this. The same is objective.
That's a good question. We're not going to repeat ourselves and belabor the point, but we've made our point that that was not the object of the exercise. The object of the exercise was for this witness to highlight the markings that he's identified in exhibit E1 on the exhibit that is now handed up as exhibit E6. That was the sole purpose of the exercise.
As it is a court, madam. I think I've made my point.
Sorry, just for... How did you understand the alleged assignment which you were given in connection with the charts? What were you supposed to do? I wasn't there when they agreed. They agreed amongst themselves that this is how you must do it.
Malak, I was requested to point out the marks that I have identified on the court chart. As I said, when I was testifying, they asked me how many marks do you see on your bullet. And I said, on the first chart, I remember I said 6 or 7 marks. And when I did the court chart, I've mentioned up to 6. If you can check all my markings, it's up to 6. I've never went more than 6.
Yes,
Manje njengoba abantu buhambile ngempela sonto wena ucanga ukuthi uthunye ukuthi uyokwenzana cha hayi mina bengithunye ukuthi ngiyokhomba impawu ezisebenzisekayo.
No, and I'm aware of that trick, you say. Now you are simply aligning your answer to what the state has said and most probably to what the court is asking you. It's just an alignment, but nonetheless it's fine. I've made my point. Now, in terms of the county, when there are stoppages in terms of synergy. Now, how do I put this one? Let us take a break, madam. I'm requesting that you take a break. It's already time for a short break so that I prepare my answer to this one. My question to this one. Yeah.